This world does not reward the good. It does not reward the talented. It does not reward the hard-working. It rewards the strategic. You can outwork everyone in the room. You can be the most honest, the most dedicated, the most capable person in your organization, your industry, your entire circle, and still watch someone less qualified climb higher, earn more, and command more respect than you ever did. Why? Because they see the chessboard you refuse to look at. Society has spent your entire life convincing you that strategy is somehow immoral, that planning is manipulation, that thinking 3 moves ahead makes you cold and calculating. But here is the truth they never told you. If you don't understand how to play the game, you will forever remain prey in a world that was specifically designed for hunters. Strategy is not deception, it is awareness, the ability to read people before they move against you, the wisdom to choose your battles with cold precision, the discipline to stay silent while others expose themselves. Everything you are about to read is not theory, it is a map. A map drawn from the coldest observations of human nature across centuries, distilled into the laws that separate those who control their fate from those who simply react to it. The question is whether you are ready to stop being a pawn and finally become the player. Law 1. Solitude is not loneliness. It is a laboratory. Most people are terrified of silence. They fill every empty moment with noise, with social media, with conversation, with anything that prevents them from sitting alone with themselves. And Machiavelli knew exactly why. Because in silence, you cannot hide from yourself. There is no applause to mask your weakness, no crowd to comfort you with their presence, no external validation to substitute for internal clarity. Only the bare, unforgiving mirror of your own mind remains. And that mirror shows you exactly who you are when no one is watching. The powerful are not built in crowds, they are built in solitude. It is in silence that the most important questions finally get answered. Who am I without the approval of others? What do I actually want beneath the expectations that were placed on me? If I lost everyone around me tomorrow, what would remain? Most people cannot answer that last question without trembling. So they run toward noise, toward recognition, toward any form of external stimulation that drowns out the discomfort of not knowing. The Machiavellian does the opposite. He sits still inside that silence. He lets it press against him. He lets it strip away everything fragile and temporary. And in that stripped-down state, something fundamental awakens, a form of self-reliance so deep that no external circumstance can shake it, because it was never built on anything external to begin with. This is the power of chosen solitude. When you no longer fear standing alone, every relationship in your life transforms. You stop entering rooms out of neediness and start entering them with choice. You stop shaking hands from desperation and start shaking hands from strategy. You stop cooperating out of fear of being left behind and start cooperating because the alliance serves a purpose. Machiavelli wrote, "The prince who must rely on allies soon becomes a hostage." As long as your inner strength depends on other people's praise, their encouragement, their consistent presence, you are not a master. You are a slave wearing the mask of one. The first step to real power is learning to hear your own voice above the noise of the world. And that can only happen in silence. Law 3. Silence is a weapon most people never learn to use. In a world where everyone is desperately trying to be heard, silence has become one of the rarest and most powerful currencies available. Machiavelli warned that every word spoken is an arrow released. Once it leaves the bow, it cannot return. Those who speak too much expose themselves, their weaknesses, their plans, their insecurities, their limitations, to anyone patient enough to listen carefully. Those who stay silent conceal an arsenal. Watch what happens in any room when one person consistently says less than everyone else. The other people around them begin to fill the silence. They talk more. They reveal more. They attempt to interpret the quiet person's intentions, and in doing so, they lay out their own fears, their own motivations, their own pressure points, without ever being asked. Silence turns you into an unreadable surface, and people cannot attack what they cannot read. They hesitate. They second guess. They wonder whether your stillness means you are at peace or whether you are calculating something they cannot see. That ambiguity is power. There is also a tactical dimension to silence in confrontation. When someone attacks you publicly and expects a defensive reaction and receives none, the entire dynamic shifts. The aggressor suddenly owns their words without the cushioning of your response. The crowd, which was expecting a fight, watches instead as one person remains composed, while the other grows increasingly agitated, trying to provoke a reaction. The silence does not protect you by hiding you. It exposes them. 3 seconds of silence in a negotiation can accomplish what 30 minutes of argument cannot. When you delay your response, when you let the moment breathe before you answer, you communicate something no words can say as effectively. That you are not operating under pressure. That you set the terms of this interaction. That the tempo belongs to you. In a world where everyone screams for attention, the person who knows when to say nothing becomes the most powerful presence in the room. Law 4. Resilience is not endurance. It is analysis. People have been told that resilience means smiling through pain, pushing through difficulty without complaint, surviving setbacks with grace and positivity. Machiavelli would reject that definition entirely. Real resilience is not the ability to endure. It is the ability to turn every failure into data, every wound into strategy, every fall into a more elevated launching point. The difference between someone who collapses under failure and someone who becomes more dangerous because of it is not strength of character alone. It is the quality of analysis they apply to what went wrong. The naive see betrayal as tragedy. The wise see it as a lesson that arrived, admittedly painfully, at exactly the right time. Consider bamboo in a violent storm. It bends dramatically, far more than the rigid trees around it. But when the storm passes, the bamboo stands again, fully intact, while those rigid trees lie broken across the ground. In human terms, rigidity is disguised weakness. The person who cannot adapt, who cannot absorb impact and recalibrate, is far more fragile than they appear. Machiavellian resilience asks a specific question after every failure. Not why did this happen to me, but what exactly went wrong? And what does that tell me about what I need to change? The first question is a victim's question. The second is a strategist's. If you can lose money, status, relationships, and rebuild from nothing not once but as many times as necessary, then you are ultimately undefeatable, because the one who does not fear starting over cannot be threatened with loss. And the person who cannot be threatened with loss is the most dangerous person in any negotiation, any conflict, any competition. True strength is not being invincible. It is being indestructible. There is a profound difference. Law 5. The mask is not deception, it is a shield. The world does not reward absolute honesty. It rewards the impression you create. This is not cynicism, it is observation. Machiavelli stated it directly. A ruler does not need to be merciful, but he must appear merciful. The crowd does not evaluate the full truth of a person. They evaluate the surface they can most easily interpret. When you reveal your entire authentic self, every fear, every insecurity, every incomplete thought, you hand others a comprehensive map of how to reach you, manipulate you, and undermine you. The mask is not about becoming fake. It is about choosing strategically what to reveal, when to reveal it, and to whom. Think of a new manager who privately carries doubts and inexperience but presents himself with composure and deliberate silence. He speaks rarely, but when he speaks, it is with precision. His employees cannot easily measure his limitations because he has not offered them the opportunity. The result, respect forms, before anyone has found a reason to withhold it. The mask gives him time, and time is what allows him to build the actual competence his image implies. The most powerful leaders throughout history have not been those who presented a single, rigid image, but those who wore many masks with precision, appearing generous when loyalty needed to be cultivated, appearing cold when boundaries needed reinforcing, appearing mysterious when predictability would have made them vulnerable. The critical rule: do not become imprisoned by the mask. It is a tool, not an identity. The wise know when to wear it, when to shift it, and when to set it down entirely. Law 6. Alliances are tools, not shelters. Betrayal is not the exception in the game of power. It is the operating principle. Machiavelli observed that human loyalty persists only as long as interest aligns. When interests shift, loyalty shifts with them, smoothly, efficiently, and often without warning. The naive believe in permanent friendship and unbreakable alliances. The wise recognize that every handshake is an unspoken contract whose terms are dictated entirely by self-interest. This does not mean trust no one. It means depend on no one entirely. Build alliances, but build them with clear eyes. Understand that every alliance has 3 critical requirements: mutual benefit that keeps both parties invested, bounded commitment that ensures you never place your total survival in another's hands, and flexibility, the ability to exit when the terms have fundamentally shifted without shattering your position. Betrayal rarely arrives suddenly. It announces itself in small signs, long silences where there used to be communication, averted eyes during conversations that would previously have been direct, rushed decisions where careful consultation used to be the norm. The naive miss these signals because they are too emotionally invested in the relationship to see it clearly. The wise take careful note, prepare quietly, and when the moment arrives, they are never surprised. The worst error in the game of power is not being betrayed. It is the naive certainty that betrayal will never come. Alliances are springboards. Use them strategically, but always maintain the capacity to stand completely alone, because the person who can stand alone can never be held hostage. Law 7. Emotions are not weaknesses. They are weapons. When mastered, people pride themselves on a rationality. But in practice, human beings make the vast majority of their decisions through emotion and construct the logic afterward. Machiavelli understood this with complete clarity. Whoever controls emotions controls people. He observed that fear, once correctly established, outlasts love, because love requires constant investment and renewal, while fear, once seeded, sustains itself. This is not a call to cruelty. It is a description of how human psychology actually operates beneath the stories people tell about themselves. If you do not govern your own emotions, others will use those emotions to govern you. The person who can provoke your anger has a weapon. The person who can manipulate your need for approval has leverage. The person who understands your fear has a leash. But the person who has mastered their own emotional landscape becomes something different entirely. They can feel everything and respond to nothing involuntarily. They can hear the insult and choose composure. They can sense the manipulation and meet it with calm analysis rather than reaction. At that level, you can also begin to plant carefully chosen emotions in others. A precisely timed silence can create more fear than any explicit threat. A cold, steady gaze communicates more authority than a raised voice. People do not fear the danger they can see clearly. They fear the darkness where their imagination constructs something worse than any real threat. The art is in calibration. Too little fear produces no caution. Too much produces resentment. And resentment eventually produces rebellion. The mastery lies in the subtle middle, creating just enough psychological tension to command careful behavior, while leaving enough space for people to believe they are cooperating by choice. Law 8. Time is not the enemy. It is the silent weapon. The impatient man burns his victories before he earns them. He rushes into decisions because waiting feels like weakness. He acts before the conditions are ready because the urgency of his emotion overrides the patience of his strategy. And in that rush, he exposes himself, makes avoidable errors, and hands his opponents the advantage they would never have earned in a fair contest of preparation. Machiavelli understood that time is not an obstacle, it is an instrument, perhaps the sharpest one available to those wise enough to use it. In negotiation, silence held for 3 seconds can shift the price. In strategy, the delayed move allows the impatient opponent to destroy their own position through overreach. In competition, the product refined for 3 additional months, while the competitor rushes an unfinished version to market can turn a potential loss into a decisive victory. Time is also the great revealer. The person feigning loyalty will eventually show their true intent. The confident facade will eventually crack under sustained pressure. The inflated reputation will eventually be tested by reality. You do not need to expose these people. Time does it without your involvement. You only need the patience to wait. Patience is not procrastination. Procrastination is fear disguised as deliberation. Strategic patience is the conscious choice to hold your move until the moment when it will land with maximum precision. The wise can wait years if necessary, but when the right moment arrives, they move within a single breath. Even in personal relationships, time is a lever. Absence at the correct moment is more powerful than constant presence. When you withdraw your availability deliberately, your return carries 10 times the weight. Time is not something that simply passes. It is the rhythm of power, and whoever commands that rhythm commands the entire game. The decision that changes everything you have just walked through 9 laws that the comfortable, the naive, and the dependent will never fully absorb. Solitude forges the self that no one can break. Discipline creates the fortress no enemy can enter. Silence becomes the weapon no one sees coming. Resilience transforms failure into fuel. The mask controls what the world believes about you. Alliances serve you without enslaving you. Mastered emotion becomes a precision instrument. Strategic patience converts time from a pressure into a tool. And legacy ensures that your power extends beyond any single lifetime. Every one of these laws points toward the same center. The person who governs themselves governs their world, not luck, not circumstance, not the mercy of a system that was never built with your freedom in mind. Your own deliberate, cold, strategic decision to stop waiting for permission, to stop being moved by every current, and to start being the current. The Machiavellian path is not comfortable. It is not designed for people who need to be liked, who need to be understood, who need constant reassurance that they are on the right track. It is designed for the person who finally decides, I am the one who holds the board. That decision, quiet, private, made in the solitude where all real power begins, is where everything changes. Not tomorrow, not when the conditions are more favorable, not when someone gives you permission. Now.